The rain poured heavily on the empty highway, and the cold wind made the night feel even darker. Daniel Carter was closing his small roadside garage after another tiring day. He was a simple mechanic who didn't have a big business or a lot of money, but everyone who knew him respected his honesty and kindness. Just as he turned off the lights, a loud knock came from the garage door. "Please help us," a frightened voice cried. Daniel opened the door and saw two young women standing in the rain. Their clothes were soaked, and their faces showed fear and exhaustion. "Our car broke down a few miles away," the older girl said. "I'm Emily, and this is my sister Sophia. We walked here because we didn't know what else to do." Daniel looked at the storm outside. It was late, cold, and dangerous, but he didn't hesitate. "Don't worry," he said. "I'll help you." He grabbed his toolbox and drove them to their car. Under the flashing lightning, Daniel checked the engine and found that rainwater had damaged the electrical system. It was a difficult repair, but he continued working. For nearly 2 hours, Daniel stood in the rain with wet clothes and freezing hands. Emily and Sophia watched him in silence, surprised that a stranger would risk his comfort just to help them. Finally, Daniel turned the key. "For Rome!" The engine started. Sophia smiled with excitement. "You did it!" Emily's eyes filled with gratitude. She took out a large amount of money and offered it to Daniel. "Please take this. You saved us tonight." Daniel shook his head. "Just pay the normal repair charge. Helping someone in need should never be about taking advantage." Emily was shocked. She had met many wealthy and successful people, but very few with a heart like Daniel's. Before leaving, she looked at him with a warm smile. "Daniel, people like you are hard to find. We don't want this to be goodbye." Sophia nodded happily. "We want to see you again." As their car disappeared into the rainy darkness, Daniel had no idea that this simple act of kindness would soon change his life forever. The next morning, Daniel woke up believing the two girls from the stormy night were just another memory. He had helped many strangers before and never expected anything in return. For him, kindness was a habit, not a way to gain attention. He opened his small garage as usual and started working on an old truck. The sound of tools hitting metal filled the quiet morning. Then a shiny black car slowly stopped in front of his garage. Daniel looked up and was surprised to see Emily and Sophia stepping out with bright smiles on their faces. "You actually came back," Daniel said. Emily laughed softly. "Did you think we would forget the man who stood in a storm for 2 hours just to help us?" Sophia held up a paper bag. "We brought you breakfast. It's our way of saying thank you." Daniel smiled, feeling something warm in his heart. No customer had ever done something like that for him before. As they sat together and talked, Daniel learned more about the two sisters. They had grown up in the city and came to the small town to settle matters related to their grandmother's old house. "Our grandmother loved this place," Emily said, looking around the peaceful streets. "She always told us that the best people in the world are usually found in the smallest towns." Sophia smiled. "After meeting you, I think she was right." Daniel felt embarrassed and changed the subject. "It was just a simple repair." "No, Daniel," Emily replied seriously. "It wasn't just the repair. It was the fact that you helped us when you had no reason to." Their conversation continued for hours. They laughed, shared stories from their childhoods, and discovered they had more in common than they expected. For the first time in years, Daniel forgot about his financial struggles and the loneliness that had become a normal part of his life. As the afternoon ended, Emily looked at the old sign hanging above Daniel's garage. "Your garage has a lot of potential," she said. "Have you ever thought about expanding it?" Daniel smiled sadly. "Every day, but dreams are expensive, and I barely make enough to keep this place running." Emily exchanged a quick glance with Sophia as if they were both thinking about something. "Maybe," Emily said quietly. "There's a way we can help." Daniel looked at them with confusion. "What do you mean?" Emily smiled mysteriously. "You helped us during our worst night. Maybe now it's our turn to help you." Daniel had no idea that the two women standing in front of him were hiding a secret that would change his future forever. Daniel stood quietly, confused by Emily's words. He had only known the two sisters for a day, yet it felt like they had known each other for years. What do you mean you can help me? Daniel asked. Emily looked at Sophia and smiled. First, you need to know something about us that we didn't tell you. Daniel became curious. What is it? Sophia took a deep breath. Our family owns one of the largest automobile companies in the country. Daniel was shocked. He looked around his old garage, his worn-out tools, and his dirty hands. You're joking, right? Emily shook her head. We're not. Our father built a successful automobile business, and after he passed away, we took over the company. Daniel didn't know what to say. The same girls who had walked through the storm, looking helpless, were actually wealthy business owners. Then why did you come here? He asked. Emily looked down with a soft smile. Our grandmother's house is here. Before she died, she left us a letter. In it, she asked us to visit this town one last time and remember where our family came from. Sophia added, She always said money can buy many things, but it can never buy a good heart. Daniel looked away, feeling uncomfortable. I hope you don't think I helped you because I wanted something. Emily stepped closer. That's exactly why we trust you, Daniel. You helped us before you knew who we were. She looked around the garage. We visited hundreds of repair shops because of our business. Some had expensive machines, beautiful buildings, and fancy advertisements. But very few had a person who cared about customers the way you do. Daniel smiled slightly. Kindness doesn't pay the bills, though. Emily's expression became serious. That's why we want to make you an offer. Daniel's heart started beating faster. What kind of offer? Sophia placed a folder on the workbench. We want to invest in your garage and turn it into a modern service center. You will remain the owner. We just want to give your talent the opportunity it deserves. Daniel stared at the papers, unable to believe what he was hearing. His dream, the dream he had carried since his father passed away, was suddenly right in front of him. But something inside him made him hesitate. Why would you do this for me? He asked. Emily smiled. Because one rainy night a stranger showed us that goodness still exists. We're simply returning the kindness. Daniel looked at the contract, but a painful memory from his past entered his mind. Years earlier, someone else had promised to help him build his dreams, and that person had betrayed him. He slowly closed the folder. I'm sorry, Daniel said quietly, but I can't accept this. Emily and Sophia looked at him in complete surprise. They never expected his answer to be no. Emily and Sophia stared at Daniel in disbelief. They had expected him to be excited, maybe even emotional. After all, the opportunity they were offering could completely transform his life. But instead, Daniel stepped back and quietly placed the folder on the table. I'm grateful for your kindness, he said, but I learned a long time ago that not every helping hand comes without a price. Emily noticed the pain hidden behind his calm voice. Daniel, she said gently, who hurt you? For a moment, the garage became silent. The only sound was the old clock ticking on the wall. Daniel looked at the picture of his late father hanging near the toolbox. 5 years ago, I had a partner, he began. His name was Mark. He was my best friend, and we dreamed of building the biggest repair center in town together. I trusted him with everything, my savings, my plans, and my future. Daniel's eyes became heavy with old memories. Then one day, he disappeared with all the money we had saved. He left me with debt and a broken dream. Sophia covered her mouth in shock. That's terrible. Daniel smiled sadly. I spent years paying off those debts. I rebuilt this garage with my own hands. Since then, I promised myself I would never depend on anyone again. Emily slowly walked closer. Daniel, I understand why you're afraid, but not everyone who enters your life is there to break you. Daniel remained silent. She continued. The night we met, you had no idea who we were. You didn't ask if we were rich or poor. You saw two people who needed help, and you stood in the rain for hours. Sophia added, Now you're judging us before giving us a chance. Those words hit Daniel deeply. She was right. He had always believed people deserved a chance, yet his own fear was stopping him from giving one to them. After a long silence, he looked at Emily. What if this changes our friendship? Emily smiled warmly. Then we'll make sure it changes it for the better. Daniel looked at the folder again. His father's words echoed in his mind. A man who closes his heart because of one betrayal may miss 1,000 honest souls. Slowly, Daniel opened the folder once more. A small smile appeared on Sophia's face. Does this mean you're considering it? Daniel took a deep breath. I'm considering trusting again. Emily's eyes sparkled with happiness. But before anyone could celebrate, a luxury black car stopped outside the garage. A man in an expensive suit stepped out and walked toward them. The moment Daniel saw his face, his smile disappeared. His hands started shaking, because the man standing at the door was someone he never expected to see again. Mark, the same friend who had betrayed him 5 years ago. Daniel's eyes remained fixed on the envelope lying on his old wooden workbench. The garage, which moments earlier had been filled with anger and painful memories, became completely silent. The only sound was the rainwater still dripping from the roof outside. For 5 long years, Daniel had imagined meeting Mark again. He had dreamed of asking him why he had destroyed everything they had built together. He had imagined shouting at him, blaming him, and making him feel the same pain he had suffered. But seeing Mark standing there with tears in his eyes changed everything. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, Mark said with a trembling voice. Every single day I have regretted the choice I made. Daniel looked at the check in the envelope. It contained every dollar Mark had stolen, along with extra money as an apology. But no amount of money could return the years Daniel had spent struggling alone. Before Daniel could speak, Emily picked up the envelope and noticed a small handwritten note on the back. Daniel, you should read this, she said softly. With shaking hands, Daniel opened the note. Dear Daniel, if you are reading this, it means I finally found the courage to face you. The money I returned today is not enough to repair the damage I caused. You were not only my business partner, you were my brother. Losing your trust was the greatest punishment of my life. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. The memories of their friendship came back, the days they worked together, their dreams, and the promises they had made. Mark turned to leave, believing there was nothing more he could say. Wait, Daniel whispered. Mark stopped. Daniel walked toward him slowly. I can never forget what you did, Daniel said. The pain you caused me was real. Mark lowered his head. But carrying this hatred for 5 years has only kept me trapped in the past. Mark looked up with tears in his eyes. Does that mean you forgive me? Daniel took a deep breath. Before he could answer, his phone suddenly rang. The caller ID showed an unknown number. When Daniel answered, his face turned pale. The voice on the other side said something that changed everything. Daniel Carter, your father's old garage is in danger. Daniel's hand began to shake as he held the phone against his ear. The color disappeared from his face, and everyone in the garage noticed the fear in his eyes. Who is this? Daniel asked nervously. The voice on the other side remained calm. You don't know me, Daniel, but I know your father's garage. The land it stands on has been sold to a powerful real estate company. They plan to demolish it within a week. Daniel felt as if the ground beneath his feet had disappeared. That's impossible, he said. This garage belongs to my family. My father built it with his own hands. There are documents you need to see, the stranger replied. Meet me tonight at the Old Town Library. Come alone. Before Daniel could ask another question, the call ended. The garage fell silent. What happened? Emily asked. Daniel explained everything. Sophia looked shocked. Someone wants to destroy this place? Daniel looked around the small garage, the old walls, the tools his father had used, and the photograph hanging above his workbench. It was more than a building. It was the last piece of his father that remained with him. I can't let this happen, he said firmly. Emily stepped forward. You won't fight this battle alone. Daniel hesitated. I don't want you involved. This is my problem. No, Emily replied. The night we met, you treated our problems as your own. Let us do the same for you. For the first time in years, Daniel felt he was no longer carrying his burdens by himself. Then Mark stepped closer. Daniel, I know I have no right to ask for anything, he said, but let me help too. I owe you that much. Daniel looked at him quietly. The wounds of betrayal were still fresh, but he could see genuine regret in Mark's eyes. After a moment, he nodded. All right, but this doesn't erase the past. I understand, Mark answered. That evening, Daniel arrived at the old library expecting to find a stranger with information. But when the person walked out from the shadows, Daniel's heart stopped. It was an elderly woman holding a small wooden box. "I was your father's lawyer," she said. "There is a secret your father kept hidden from everyone, even from you." Daniel stared at the box in disbelief. "What secret?" The woman slowly opened it. Inside was a letter with Daniel's name written in his father's handwriting. And beneath the letter was a key to something that could change Daniel's entire future. Daniel stared at the old wooden box with trembling hands. For a moment, the world around him seemed to disappear. The sound of the rain outside the library windows faded as his eyes focused on his father's handwriting. It had been 10 years since his father passed away, but seeing his name written by him again made Daniel feel like he was standing beside him once more. With tears in his eyes, Daniel slowly opened the letter. "My dear son Daniel, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer there to guide you. First, I want you to know that I have always been proud of the man you became. I didn't leave you wealth or a big company, but I hoped I gave you something more valuable, a kind heart and the courage to do what is right." Daniel wiped his tears and continued reading. "There is something I never told you. Years ago, when our garage was struggling, I discovered a piece of land behind the old workshop that contained valuable mineral resources. Many powerful people wanted to buy it, but I refused because I wanted the garage to remain in our family." The elderly lawyer nodded. "Your father knew that one day someone might try to take the property. That is why he prepared legal documents and kept them hidden with me." Daniel looked shocked. "So the sale was illegal?" "Yes," she replied. "The company was deceived into believing the land had no rightful owner. These documents prove that your father's ownership was never transferred." For the first time since the threatening phone call, Daniel felt a small sense of hope. But there was still one mystery. "What is this key for?" he asked. The old woman smiled. "Your father asked me to give it to you only when you truly needed it." The next morning, Daniel returned to the garage with Emily, Sophia, and even Mark. Together, they searched every corner of the old building. After hours of looking, they discovered a small locked door hidden behind a shelf that had not been moved for decades. Daniel inserted the key. Click. The door slowly opened. Inside was a secret room filled with old photographs, tools, and boxes that belonged to his father. But at the center of the room was a large safe. Attached to it was another message. "Daniel, what is inside this safe will not only save your garage, it will reveal the truth about our family." Everyone looked at each other in complete silence. Daniel's hands slowly moved toward the safe door, unaware that the secret inside would change everything he believed about his father and his past. Daniel stood in front of the old safe, his heartbeat so loud it felt like it was echoing through the hidden room. The others, Emily, Sophia, and Mark, watched in silence, waiting for what would come next. With trembling fingers, Daniel slowly turned the dial. Each click felt heavier than the last, as if he was unlocking not just a safe, but his father's buried past. Finally, click. The safe opened. Inside, there were neatly arranged documents, an old envelope sealed with wax, and a small black notebook. Daniel picked up the notebook first. On the first page, his father had written, "If you are reading this, then the truth has finally reached you." Daniel swallowed hard and continued reading. The pages revealed something shocking. Years ago, his father had been offered a partnership by a powerful industrial group. They wanted to turn the garage land into a large commercial project. When his father refused, they didn't give up. Instead, they began working in the shadows. Emily stepped closer. "What does it say?" she asked softly. Daniel's voice was low. They tried to force him out, but he discovered something illegal about their company, something that could destroy them. Sophia covered her mouth. "So your father was being threatened?" Daniel nodded. Mark picked up one of the documents from the safe. His expression changed instantly. "Daniel, this isn't just land ownership papers," he said. "These are financial records, big ones." Emily looked closely. "They were hiding money transfers, fake accounts, corruption." Daniel felt his chest tighten. His father hadn't just been protecting a garage. He had been protecting evidence that could expose a powerful company. Then Daniel opened the sealed envelope. Inside was a final letter. "My son, if you have reached this point, it means they are coming back for what I protected. The garage is not just a building. It is the key to everything. Trust no one easily. But remember, the truth will always protect the one who refuses to bow to fear." The room fell completely silent. Suddenly, footsteps were heard outside the hidden room. Everyone froze. The wooden door at the entrance of the garage creaked open upstairs. Someone had entered. Emily whispered. "They found us." Mark quietly stepped forward. "Then we don't have much time." Daniel closed the safe slowly, his mind racing. For the first time, he realized this wasn't just about his father's garage anymore. It was about exposing a truth powerful people had buried for years. And now, whoever was outside knew they were getting close. The footsteps grew heavier above them, slow and deliberate, as if whoever had entered the garage already knew where they were. Daniel motioned for everyone to stay silent. The hidden room felt smaller now, the air tighter. Even breathing seemed dangerous. Emily whispered, barely audible, "What if they come down here?" Mark looked toward the stairs. "Then we make sure they don't leave with anything." Sophia clutched her phone, but there was no signal underground. Above them, a faint metallic sound echoed. Drawers being opened, objects being moved. Someone was searching. Daniel's mind raced. If the documents were discovered, everything his father protected would be gone. Not just the garage, but the truth itself. Then suddenly, thud. A panel near the hidden door shifted slightly. "They're close," Emily said. Daniel stepped forward and pressed his hand against the wall. "We can't let them find the safe." Mark nodded. "We move it now." Together, they quietly pushed the heavy safe toward the back corner, using all their strength. The metal scraped softly against the floor, each sound feeling like it might give them away. Above them, the footsteps stopped. Silence. Too much silence. Daniel looked up. "They heard us." A deep voice suddenly came from upstairs. "I know you're down there, Daniel Carter." Daniel froze. He knew that voice. Emily turned toward him. "Who is it?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "The man who tried to buy this land years ago." A loud creak followed as the hidden door above began to open. Mark stepped in front of Daniel. "Whatever happens next, stay behind me." But Daniel shook his head. Something inside him had changed. Fear was still there, but so was clarity. "No," Daniel said firmly. "This is my father's fight. I'm facing it." The hidden door above slowly opened wider and light spilled into the secret room. A man in a dark suit appeared at the top of the stairs, holding a flashlight. He looked down and smiled. "Finally, we meet again." Daniel stepped forward into the shadowed light. "What do you want?" he asked. The man's smile faded. "I want what your father hid." A pause. "And I will take it, whether you survive or not." The tension snapped like a wire pulled too tight. Daniel realized this wasn't just a confrontation. It was the moment everything his father warned him about had finally arrived. Daniel stood still as the man's flashlight cut through the darkness of the hidden room. Dust particles floated in the beam like frozen rain. The atmosphere felt suffocating, as if the garage itself was holding its breath. Emily moved slightly behind Daniel, her voice barely a whisper. "Daniel, don't let him intimidate you." The man slowly descended the stairs. His expensive shoes touched the old wooden steps with controlled confidence. He looked around the hidden room like someone who had already won. "My name is Victor Hale," he said calmly, "and your father made a very expensive mistake by keeping secrets from people like me." Mark stepped forward. "You're the one behind the illegal takeover." Victor smiled faintly. "Illegal is a matter of paperwork. Influence decides what becomes legal later." Daniel's fists tightened. "So you're the reason my father lived in fear," Daniel said. Victor tilted his head. "Fear? No, I gave him choices. He just chose poorly." Sophia whispered angrily. "You destroyed a family for land." Victor ignored her and focused on Daniel. "I don't want conflict," he said. "I want the documents your father hid. Hand them over and this ends peacefully." Daniel glanced at the safe behind him. Everything his father protected was inside that box. Emily stepped closer to him. "If he gets those papers, he'll erase everything your father fought for." Victor took another step forward. "You're standing in a burning building and refusing to leave with the only exit I'm offering." Daniel looked at him directly. "My father didn't protect those documents so someone like you could rewrite the truth." Silence filled the room. Victor's expression slowly hardened. "Then you leave me no choice." He snapped his fingers. From the stairs above, 2 more men appeared. Guards. Mark cursed under his breath. "We're outnumbered." Emily grabbed Daniel's arm. "We need another way out." But Daniel didn't move. Instead, he slowly walked toward the safe. Everyone watched in confusion. Daniel placed his hand on it. And then he said something no one expected. "You want the truth so badly, Victor?" He turned around. "Then I'm not giving it to you, I'm exposing it." Victor's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" Daniel looked at Emily, Sophia, and Mark. "Everything my father left behind isn't just evidence in a safe." He paused. "It's already being sent to someone who can destroy you." For the first time, Victor's confidence cracked slightly. "What did you do?" he demanded. Daniel's voice was calm but firm. "I pressed send." A faint vibration echoed in Emily's pocket, her phone lighting up with an incoming alert. Sophia gasped. "Daniel, it's being uploaded online." Victor's face turned dark. And in that moment, the balance of power in the room shifted completely. But no one knew. Victor still had one last move left. Victor's expression changed the moment he heard Sophia's words. "Uploaded online?" he repeated slowly, as if testing whether the situation was real. Daniel didn't blink. "Every document, every record, every truth your company buried." For the first time, Victor's calm confidence cracked completely. His jaw tightened, and the controlled tone in his voice disappeared. "You think that will stop me?" he said coldly. "The internet is not justice. Power is." He raised his hand. The guards moved forward immediately. Mark stepped in front of Daniel. "Get ready!" Emily pulled Sophia back as tension exploded in the narrow space. The hidden room, once a place of secrets, was now a battlefield waiting to ignite. But Daniel didn't retreat. Instead, he spoke calmly. "Victor, you built your empire on silence, on people being afraid to speak." He pointed toward the ceiling. "But this time the truth isn't in your control anymore." A sudden vibration filled the air. Outside, faint sirens echoed in the distance. Victor froze. "What did you do?" he snapped. Daniel's voice remained steady. "I didn't do this alone." Emily looked at him in surprise. Daniel continued. "When I pressed send, it wasn't just one upload. It was sent to investigative journalists, legal authorities, and financial watchdog networks." Mark smiled slightly. "That means it's already out of your reach." Victor's eyes darkened. "You think authorities scare me?" he said sharply. "By the time they act, I'll erase everything." "But then—" Sophia lifted her phone. "It's already trending," she whispered. Emily leaned in. "News channels are picking it up." Daniel looked directly at Victor. "You don't control the narrative anymore." For the first time, Victor stepped back slightly. Outside, the sound of sirens grew louder. But then Victor suddenly smiled again. A slow, chilling smile. "You made a mistake, Daniel Carter," he said softly. Daniel frowned. "What mistake?" Victor looked toward the garage ceiling. "You think I came here unprepared?" He pressed a small button on his watch. And somewhere above ground, a loud mechanical rumble began. Emily's eyes widened. "What is that sound?" Daniel's face changed instantly. "No," he whispered. Victor's voice turned cold. "If I lose everything, then your father's garage won't survive long enough to celebrate your victory." The ground above them began to shake slightly, and Daniel finally understood. Victor hadn't come only for the documents. He had come prepared to erase the entire place. The ground trembled again, dust falling from the ceiling of the hidden room. The garage above groaned under pressure, as if it could collapse at any second. Emily pulled Daniel back urgently. "He's going to bring everything down!" Victor's voice echoed from above, cold and controlled. "You should have taken my offer, Daniel. Now you lose everything." Daniel stared at the walls of his father's secret room. His breathing slowed. Fear was there, but so was clarity. My father didn't build this place only to be protected, Daniel said. He built it to fight back. Mark frowned. What do you mean? Daniel moved toward a hidden panel in the wall, revealing an old mechanical switch. A manual override, he explained. A last safeguard. Victor's voice turned sharp. That system was destroyed! Daniel shook his head. No, it was hidden. Emily watched in silence as Daniel grabbed the lever. Daniel, are you sure? She asked. He nodded once. This is what my father trusted me to do. And he pulled it down. A deep mechanical click echoed through the structure. Above them, the rumbling suddenly faltered. The violent shaking slowed, then stopped. Silence filled the garage. Victor shouted from upstairs. What did you do? Daniel replied calmly. I stopped you. Within seconds, flashing red and blue lights filled the entrance. Police rushed in from outside, voices commanding everyone to stay still. Victor Hale, you are under arrest. For the first time, Victor looked powerless. As officers surrounded him, he glared at Daniel. This isn't over. Daniel didn't respond. Emily and Sophia stepped closer, relieved and exhausted. Mark let out a long breath. You really did it, he said. Daniel walked toward the safe one last time and placed his hand on it gently. No, he said softly, we did it. The storm outside had finally stopped. Rain faded into silence. Emily looked at him. What now? Daniel glanced around the broken but surviving garage. Now we rebuild, he said. Not just the garage, but everything that was broken. Sophia smiled through tears. Together? Daniel nodded. Yes, together. And for the first time in years, the garage that once held secrets and pain became a place of hope, trust, and a new beginning.